would like to wish a good day to everyone that's on the webinar. Some of us are in the morning, some in the afternoon, and some in the evening, so we have people from around the world, and I just want to thank everyone for taking your time today to spend a little bit of time with me and the AD Solutions team at ManageEngine. In this particular webinar, we are going to talk about something that I feel as an Active Directory MVP is something that is extremely important to all Active Directory administrators and really all organizations, but something that is very difficult to accomplish without the right tool. So we're going to talk about the concept of monitoring, auditing, and actually real-time alerting of Active Directory changes. Now, for some of you that really don't know who I am, let me give you a little bit of information about me. My name is Derek Melber, and I am the technical evangelist for the AD Solutions team here at ManageEngine. And really what that means is I get to work with the rest of the AD Solutions team trying to develop solutions that meet the needs of administrators of Active Directory. And really what we try to focus on is we try to focus on efficient management, security, and really the overall control and view of what's occurring within Active Directory for your organizations. And we actually do this not only in webinar format, but we actually have a world tour. We did a 2015 world tour, and we're going to start a 2016 world tour, as well as some other events. And you see some of the events that I have down here. We will be kind of touring the world, so you can see the different locations that we have on our calendar so far, and that's only through April. And I know that in May we'll be hitting some more European cities and countries. So please keep track of our website. On our website we have an events page, and we put all of our events, not only for the AD Solutions team, but the other teams at ManageEngine that will be going around the world. Also, I wanted to point you to some excellent resources. One resource, as you see on the screen here, is one of the 15 books that I've written. This one's on group policy, and this is a very good desktop reference for anyone dealing with Active Directory, because this book has information about not only group policy that's been historical, but also group policy preferences and some excellent information on the event viewer. So this is a great reference. Also, as you see there on the screen, there's a blog. There's an Active Directory blog that we post, and we post every single week. And this is not a blog that's really pushing our products. This is a blog that's pushing Active Directory, efficient solutions. So myself and others that are on the technical team for the AD Solutions team, as we go around the world, as we give webinars, as we talk with you, the administrators, we constantly get questions about how to do things in Active Directory. So what we try to do is solve those problems through the blog. Finally, a couple more things that I want to point you to on our particular website. So I'm going to jump off to the website here. So this is our website landing page. And one of the things that I've been trying to really push, really all of us at ManageEngine have been trying to push, is better security. So if you click on Active Directory and then you go to this security hardening page, this security hardening page has some unbelievable information that will really help you as administrators get a better handle on securing your Active Directory and your Windows servers. So if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see a whole bunch of different areas with regard to Active Directory security. And if you click on any of them, it expands into these blogs and videos that you don't have to put any information about yourself in the page, and you can get some awesome information. So please go out to our security hardening page and or mini site, actually, it's not just a page, our mini site, and consume some of that information. So I think that's enough information about me, enough about ManageEngine. Let's jump into the information. So again, what we're going to be talking about today is change monitoring of Active Directory. And in a minute, I'm going to give you what my definition of that is. But in order to get change monitoring set up, we have to go into group policy, and we have to establish auditing. So what we're going to try to do first is we're going to try to use Microsoft solutions in order to solve this idea of change monitoring and get us a solution. And we're going to look at both auditing and advanced auditing to do this. And then finally, once we have everything set up within Active Directory, anything that changes is going to show up in these logs. And the log is actually the security log that you have in Event Viewer. So after we get auditing set up and after we get kind of a overview of the security log and what shows up, we're going to look at some common tasks that I think everyone wants to track within Active Directory, and we're going to try to solve those using the Microsoft solution. And we're going to find that there are some stumbling blocks, there's some huge walls, there's some major things that are missing, and then I'm going to quickly at the end just to show you an awesome way that you can actually leverage the information that's in your security log to get reports and real-time alerts. So what do I mean when I say change monitoring of Active Directory? Well, as a longtime Active Directory admin, I know that virtually anything that changes within Active Directory is an important change, because anything that can change in Active Directory means that there may be consequences. So we all know that anything that can change in Active Directory could cause some issue with a service, with a user's access, with a server and its stability, with security, and any of those changes could cause something to occur, whether it be instantaneously or even over time. I mean, we all know that a change that can occur to a group membership today may not show up as a consequence until a week or two later. So I think it's important to think about what changes in Active Directory and how we want to monitor those. So we not only want to look at the obvious changes, such as user and group changes, but we also want to look at the more sophisticated changes that are occurring within group policy. We want to make sure that we're covering all the security bases. So our password policy, our account lockout policy, configurations around user rights, configurations around anonymous and LAN manager configurations. So all of these things are extremely important, and we need to track every single change that occurs within Active Directory. Now, not only do we want to track everything that changes in Active Directory, we want to track all the details, because the details are extremely important. So we not only want to know that a user was created, we want to know when the user was created. If there was a modification to a group, we want to know what was modified, who was added to the group, who was removed from the group. If we went in and changed something in group policy, we want to know what the old value was, and we want to know what the new value is. So it is important to track everything, but it's not just the tracking, it's also the ability to know all the details around that particular change. Now, I think we all agree that this is pretty aggressive. To want to have the ability to run reports, look at information, get emails on this concept of change monitoring of everything that can change in Active Directory, that's pretty aggressive. But how are we going to get there? Well, first and foremost, what we're going to do is we're going to set up auditing. Now, auditing within Active Directory has actually been here since the onset of Active Directory. So for the last 16 years, we've had the ability to set up auditing, and auditing is enabled through group policy. Now, within group policy, you'll see the path here in your last bullet on the screen. We're going to go into a GPO, a group policy object, and we are going to configure the audit policy. Now, instead of just kind of talking over this, let's actually go into the operating system and look at this. So this is my domain controller, and we're going to go into group policy here, and we're going to go to the domain node and look at a group policy object. Now, you can have two options with this audit setup. Now, you'll see that I have a GPO linked to the domain node, and this GPO is where I have my audit policy configured. Since this particular webinar is only about Active Directory changes, you could do a GPO linked to your domain controller's OU, and only have the audit policy affect your domain controllers. But as we get towards the end of this webinar, we're going to be talking about some other things that we can look at with change monitoring. So because we also want to monitor some changes that are occurring on our servers, I'm going to set this up at the domain level. One more point here. Notice that I am not modifying the default domain policy. I've created a new GPO for this. The reason for this, kind of directly, is I don't trust Microsoft. I don't trust that Microsoft, in some service pack or hotfix, is going to change my default domain policy back to the original. So because of that, I'm going to encourage you to utilize a new GPO linked to the domain, and within that GPO, going to the edit option, we're going to go down to our security options, our local policies, and our audit policy. Now, once we're inside of the audit policy configurations, we have some choices to make. So let's kind of walk through the choices that I've made here. You will see that I have quite a few of these audit policy configurations established. Again, towards the end of this, I'm going to be showing you some capabilities beyond just Active Directory monitoring. So I have established here the ability to actually track changes for more than just Active Directory. If you only want to track Active Directory changes, you should only set up audit policies for what you need to track. Now, this is a pretty complicated decision on what exactly you're going to set up in the audit policy, so we actually have a document. If you email me, I gave you my email at the beginning, I'll give you my email at the end, I would be more than happy to send you a document that we've put together that guides you through what you need to set up in the audit policy depending on what you want to track. So there's no reason for you to worry about jotting down what I have set up here. You read the document, it'll tell you exactly what you want to set up depending on what you want to track. Now, once you've decided on what you want to set up in the audit policy, you then have to make the decision, okay, do I want to look at success, failure, or in the case that I have here, both success and failure. The reason that you may want to look at failures is because you want to know when things are happening in Active Directory that don't occur. For example, let's say for an idea that you have the ability or you want to track when someone's trying to attack a user account. So what we may want to do is we may want to track failed logons. And we want to track the failed logons that are occurring on our domain controllers so we can see the history of which domain controllers are being touched and which client is actually trying to authenticate to those domain controllers. If we can see the history of failed logons, that can give us insight into who potentially is trying to attack which account within Active Directory. So it is important not only to set up success, but also failures to make sure that we get a full view of what's occurring within our Active Directory environment, as well as what's happening on the network. So once we have our audit policy set up, we then can have the ability to start tracking what's occurring within Active Directory. Again, we want to set up success, failure, or success and failure. I'll send you the document and you can track that information. Now, once we have our audit policy set up, some, including me, years and years ago, I immediately said, wow, now that I have my audit policy set up, I'm going to go into Active Directory, make some changes, jump into the security log, and look at those changes. I want to see the details. Well, long ago, when I did this, and I'm sure that some of you have tried this, you find that you don't have very much in the security log at this point. The reason is that to track Active Directory changes, it is a two-step process. It's not a one-step process, it's a two-step process. The first step, obviously, is to set up auditing. But the second step is kind of a hidden gem. It's kind of a hidden configuration. And I really think it's the secret of the auditing because it's not extremely well documented. But the second setting that you need is you need to go in and set up the SACL. You have to set up the auditing tab within the security configuration of Active Directory. Now, this screen shows you where that is. That way it's documented for you. But let me show you how to do this. Inside of Active Directory, through Active Directory users and computers, you go to the domain node and you go to the properties. Under the properties, you're going to see security. And then under security, you see advanced. This is why I'm saying it's somewhat hidden, because it's kind of deep in the configurations here. And then under auditing, you are going to set up what you want to track and who you want to track and what behavior. Because we want to track every Active Directory change, we're going to say that anyone, or in this case everyone, that touches Active Directory, we want to track you. And what do we want to track? Well, remember back to the very first slide, which was my definition of change monitoring. I want to track if a computer object, group, organizational unit, user, group policy is touched. This is where you define the details for what's going to be tracked. If you don't do this, you're going to find that the changes that occur within Active Directory aren't tracked. So you set up auditing in group policy, link that GPO to the domain, then you go into Active Directory and you establish this SACL. It's referred to as the Security Access Control List. Most of us are very familiar with this Permissions tab, which is the DACL, the Discretionary Access Control List. But if we go into this auditing and set that up, now is when we have change monitoring established in Active Directory. Now, before we jump into the security log, we need to talk about one more type of auditing. The one more type of auditing is called advanced auditing. Now, if you have legacy domain controllers that are Server 2008 and before, you'll want to use the auditing that we just set up. If you have newer domain controllers, Server 2008 R2 and greater, then you want to look at advanced auditing. And the reason that you want to look at advanced auditing is because it's expanded to give you more breadth and more depth around the changes that are occurring. Microsoft introduced this advanced auditing and made Server 2008 R2 servers and domain controllers, as well as Windows 7 machines, understand this new advanced auditing. It's going to give us more events and more information about all the events so we can get a better idea of what's happening. Now, Microsoft also released this advanced auditing around the same time that they had the Security Compliance Manager. Now, if you've never heard of the Security Compliance Manager, I highly recommend that you do a quick search after the webinar on this and go download it. It's a free product. It really gives you the power to set up security hardening, which again was kind of what I talked about earlier and one of the things that we're focusing on. And this is one of the tools that can help you with that. Now, all of these events that advanced auditing set up also show up in the security log, which is a benefit. Now we have all of our tracking occurring within the security log. So it's going to be one place that we're going to be able to go. Well, how do we set up this advanced auditing? Well, advanced auditing is set up also in group policy, but it also is kind of hidden because it's moved away from the other auditing. So let's go back into my group policy. I'm going to open up my group policy object again. Remember, this is where we were for the normal auditing. So we were under the local policies audit policy. But if you come down in the list all the way to the bottom, you have advanced auditing. And this advanced auditing gives you the ability to really control more precisely in a granular way what you want to audit. So if I go to account management, notice that I don't have to have all of account management set up for success like I had to have up here. So up here in my local policies, my account management wasn't very granular. It just said account management, yes or no. Down here in advanced auditing, account management gives the ability to be precise. Now, what is this going to do for you? First and foremost, it is going to free up your security log from tracking things that you don't care about. Second of all, it's going to reduce the size of your security log because we don't have to look at everything. Notice that I'm not looking at 2 of the subcategories here under account management. I'm not looking at everything here under account logon. So I'm able to reduce what I'm looking at by using advanced auditing. This is going to make my overall security log smaller and give me faster access to searching inside of the security log than if I'm just using the normal auditing. So we here at Manage Engine recommend that you use advanced auditing whenever possible. Well, what if you have a combination? What if you have both older domain controllers and newer domain controllers? Can you have a combination? And the answer is yes. Because it's group policy that's delivering these configurations, you can have auditing for your 2008 and previous operating systems that are domain controllers and advanced auditing for your newer operating systems, and now you're just going to have everything show up in the security logs and you're good to go. Now again, this advanced auditing can be pretty complicated to set up, not knowing exactly what you want to track. In that document that I said that you can ask me for, I can send you this document and you can now get all the details not only on auditing but advanced auditing, so you know exactly what to set up for what you're trying to track. Now, we have auditing set up, we have advanced auditing set up through group policy. That GPO is linked to our domain. We've gone into Active Directory users and computers, and we've set up auditing, the SACL, for all the different objects that we want to track. At this point, we are literally done with the configuration. That configuration should take you less than 15 minutes. Even if you have 20 domain controllers, it's very easy to set this up because it's group policy and it's Active Directory users and computers. You don't have to touch every domain controller, it's centralized configurations. Once you have all these configurations set up, you simply go to the security log, and the security log is going to show all of the audited events. Now, let's go to my security log. Here's my domain controllers, or my domain controller, sorry. I go to Administrative Tools, Event Viewer. In Event Viewer, I go to Security, and there we go. I have almost 144,000 events that I've tracked. So you can see that setting up this auditing gets you the information that you need. Now, let's talk about the reality of this security log. Yes, all the information for each domain controller's Active Directory modifications show up in the security log, but it shows up in the security log on the domain controller where the change occurred. Let me say that again. Every domain controller has a unique security log, and in that security log are the changes that occurred for that domain controller and that domain controller only. So that means if you have 10 domain controllers, you are going to have 10 unique security logs. And at any one time, if you have 145,000 events on one domain controller, that means if you have 10 domain controllers, you can have approximately 1.5 million events at any one time. Now, that's not a bad thing because we are very verbose. However, what if we are looking for events in the event viewer? How easy is it to find what we're looking for? Well, let's try. So let's take an example. I've been around the world about 3 times last year talking with administrators in many, many different countries. And I find that we all have at least one common thing that we want to track. We want to know as administrators when the domain admins group changes membership. So let's try to find the last time that the domain admins group changed membership on this domain controller. Now, if we go through the Microsoft options, we have this filter. That seems like a pretty good option. So I want to know, well, I don't know the event for domain admins, but a keyword. So what I want to do here is I want to type in, and I wish you could see me, I'm trying to type on my keyboard. I want to know when domain admins change, but keywords here doesn't allow me to type, so let's go to the drop down, but unfortunately there's no domain admins. So this isn't going to help me much. All right, let's go to another option. Let's go, well, we have find. All right, so I'm going to type in domain admins, and I'm going to hit find now. All right, so it's finding or trying to find domain admins in my 143,000 events. Now remember, if you have 10 domain controllers, you need to do this 10 times because the security log is not replicated between domain controllers. Now, as you can see, immediately we have our first bump in the road. Yes, we have some amazing logs here, but trying to get through the logs to find what you want might be a little time consuming, because I'm thinking that all of you that dialed into this webinar, your time is valuable and you don't want to be waiting to get information because the information's there, you just want the information. Now, let's walk through some different things with regard to the event viewer and try to work through this using Microsoft technology. First and foremost, did you know that Microsoft updated the event viewer starting with Vista and Server 2008? They gave us some awesome new functionality. One of the new features that they gave us is this custom view. Now, if I go back to my event viewer, I'm going to cancel out of that. I have a custom view here for group changes. Now, if we look at the details of this, you will see that I have gone to the security log and I have listed all the events related to a user being added or an object being added to a group or removed from a group. So you will see that I currently do not have any events showing up. Now, if I go into Active Directory and I change, let's see if I can find a group here. If I change the membership of a group and I add in a user and I go back and I refresh this, that shows up. So this is working. This is a view of the security log, but just for group changes. So this is a pretty awesome feature. Now, this is a demo environment. This is what I used to show administrators kind of easier ways to use Active Directory. I don't have that many changes for groups. I guarantee you will. My experience has shown one of the #1 changes in Active Directory is group membership changes. So of the 145,000 events, you might have 20 to 50,000 of those being just group changes, because those are the changes that occur most often within Active Directory. So this is an awesome option, but again, remember, no matter how many events you have in here, you still only have filter and find, and so you're still going to have to go through those options. But at least it gets us the ability to reduce what we're seeing within Active Directory. Now, I don't know if you were noticing, but here in my group log, I only have one event. I do not have more than one event of a group change in the overall security log. So that means that domain admins is not even here. Why isn't it here? Well, the reason it's not here is because I have my log set to a certain retention. and the log can only get so big. So my question is, how big can the security log get? Because I might want to put as much information in the security log as possible so that when I do come in here to find something, I can find it. Well, you'll notice here that if I go to the properties of the security log, here's an entry for how big to make the log. Now, it doesn't really give me any information about how big it can get, so I'm going to go back to group policy, and I am going to look at a policy setting that helps me see the log size. Now, I'm going to go to event log here, maximum security log size, and this is where I can define it. But here I have an explain button. Now, this is from Microsoft directly. Microsoft says that the security log has a theoretical maximum of 4 gig. But that is not what they recommend. They recommend the practical size, which is 300 meg. Now, in today's storage capabilities, how big is 300 meg? Well, 300 meg is not very big. It's very small. So that means that not only is Microsoft recommending the retention to get rid of events, overwrite events as needed, we now have to make a log that's small according to Microsoft. And the smaller we make it, the less information we can have inside of our log. Now, if I go back to my event log, you will see that I have events, of course, for today, the 26th, all the way back to, the 25th. That's not very good, is it? Just the 25th? That's only yesterday. So that means that in order for me to find my event for domain admin's changes, it had to be yesterday or today. And I'm sure that in most of our environments, domain admins didn't change yesterday or today. So with this issue, with the log size, that means that we're going to be losing information. And with losing information, now we have yet another stumbling block. I think this is a huge wall that we're going to lose events. But wait a minute. Does the event viewer back up the security log when it fills up? I mean, does it automatically archive the security log? Now, I'm going to show you something. This is a Server 2008 R2 domain controller. If I go to Security, Properties, I have an option to archive the log when it's full. Now, this is not a special version of a Windows Server. This is a feature that Microsoft added with Server 2008. And not only did they give you the feature here, they give you inside of policy. So I'm in my group policy object here. If I go to my administrative templates, Windows components, event log service, security, you will see that I have the ability to back up the log automatically, and I can enable that. I can also specify the path and all the event information right here. So that means that I can actually back up my log when it fills up automatically. Now, the way the technology works is it will generate a file with the date and timestamp for the security log when it fills up. Now, I was in Sydney, Australia last July, and there was a gentleman in the class, in the seminar, that was actually monitoring this. And in his environment, every domain controller on average produced 10 backups of the security log per day. Now, if we're looking at the volume of events, that means that if I have 10 domain controllers at 145,000 events per domain controller's security log with 10 logs per day, that is approximately 15 million events per day. And I know for a fact that in the last 2 days, I don't have a change to domain admins. So that means minimum I'm going to have to look through 30 million plus events to try to find the last time domain admins changed membership. Now we're seeing an issue. We're talking about a volume of events that this tool cannot handle in terms of searching. Because if I have 10 logs per day, how do I even look at those logs? What I have to do is I have to right-click on security and go into an open save log. That's 100 log files per day that I have to look through. Some of your environments haven't had the domain admins change in maybe a month or two. That would be 300 to 600 logs that you're going to have to go through. That's a lot. That is a lot of logs that you are going to have to go through in order to look at this. Actually, 30 days would be 3,000 logs, not 300. So we now have huge walls that we're going to have to climb in order to get the information that we need. But what if we could consolidate the logs? What if we could get everything in one log? Is that possible? Does Microsoft provide that? Well, the answer is yes. They give you something called event log forwarding and subscriptions. If you go into your log and go to subscriptions, you will see that you can set up a subscription, gather information from the certain computers, and then specify the events, and all of this information will show up in this forwarded events log. So I can actually get events from multiple domain controllers and put them in a single log. Now, instead of having to go to 10 domain controllers, I can go to one log on the collector and do a search in here because I still have find. But remember, this find is not very good. So even though I have the option, it's really not exactly what I need. So I'm still having the problem of finding, and this forwarded events has a size as well, and it's going to override as needed. I could set up retention, but now I have voluminous logs as well. So I didn't really get that much further with the option, but at least it's here. But all of that we're talking about so far is manual checks. What if I could turn this around, and instead of trying to find information in the log, if an event in the log occurs, it's going to email me? Wouldn't that be better? So instead of me having to go look, the application is going to tell me. Does Microsoft have the ability to email when events show up in the event viewer? Well, let's go look. Here I'm back in my event viewer. I have a group change, and I can attach a task to the event, and I can attach the task to be send an email. Well, there it is. I can have the system email me when a group changes membership. Can I do it just for domain admins? No. So this means that every time a group changes membership, you are going to receive an email. You only care about domain admins, but you're going to receive about 10,000 emails for every one that you care about, which is the domain admins. Who wants that? Well, not me. So dang, we were so close. We almost had it to where we could get the security log to tell us when the event occurs that we want, but it's going to be too many emails. So in the end, we have some issues with the event viewer. The event viewer, the security log is just too small, and we generate too many archived logs that are very difficult to manage. Events are hard to decrypt. Some of the events are so complicated we have to go out to the internet just to try to find out what's in the event. We have a distributed security log model, which Now we have multiple logs, and even if we can consolidate them, Microsoft doesn't have a good tool to search. Certainly, we don't have anything that can report. If we go back to Event Viewer, there is no option here anywhere that says generate report. All we have the ability to do is we can save all the events, but there's no reporting. Nothing in here does any reporting. So that's a huge stumbling block too. So we have all the information we need, we just don't have a tool. But we do have a tool. That tool can get us the information. What information? Well, let's think about all the different things that an admin wants to track, right? Here are some ideas. I don't know of any Active Directory administrator that doesn't want to know when a new user is created. I want to know when every new user is created. I want to know when the password policy for the domain has changed. That's in group policy. I want to know when domain admins. Actually, I want to know when any group that has elevated privileges changes membership. Not just domain admins, enterprise admins, SharePoint admins, SQL admin, Exchange admin. Heck, I want to know when particular user accounts, service accounts, are modified in any way. How do I do this? How can I get this level of detail for changes in Active Directory at a very granular level? So now I'm not only changing my original definition of change monitoring, I want specific information, specific alerts on specific accounts. Well, the way you can do this is with AD Audit Plus. Let me show you how simple this is. Instead of having to go through all of these logs, I'm just going to go to AD Audit Plus Reports. And if I want to know when domain admins changed, I go to this default report called Modified Admin Groups, and I go through the last 30 days, and I see that domain admins changed on January 15th. That's 11 days ago. You mean I can go back in time? Absolutely. Watch this. I can actually go back for the last 6 months. And I want to know when domain admins, so put in the group name, I want to know when domain admins changed over the last 6 months, and here's every single change. Tell me this isn't powerful. This is what we want out of this, but it's impossible to get it out of this. There's no way that you can get a report like this out of that security log. But here it's at your fingertips. And not only do I have information about the groups that are built in, you will notice here that I can get information about groups. Let's see if I have one here. Let's go to the last 6 months. And let's look at, notice I have finance managers. You may not even have a finance managers group. How did I get finance managers to show up in this report? Well, in my environment, finance managers is an admin type group, meaning I want to know when the finance managers group changes membership. How did I get that in there? Well, inside of AD Audit Plus, under configuration, you have the ability to customize any of your reports. This is a group, so I go to my modified admin group default report, and I simply edit it to add in all the additional groups that are important to me. This is how easy this is. This is powerful. This is what we need from a tool. I want to know when these groups change membership. Now I also have an alert set up for this, so that if I have any of my groups change membership, I have an alert. Now let's kind of tie all these concepts together. All these concepts meaning the ability to generate reports for detailed information and generate alerts, even email alerts, for when those objects change. And what I want you to do is think about your environment and things that you would want to track when things change. Now, the example that we're going to go over are service accounts. Service accounts are extremely important to organizations. But what I have found is that most administrators, most organizations don't know where all their service accounts are configured. We at ManageEngine feel your pain. So what we have done for you is we have developed a free tool. Please go to our website, okay? I'm going to show you how to get there right here. If you go to our website and you go and click on Active Directory, you have free tools right here. This is where you get the free tools, okay? So go get the free tools. Oops. Once you have the free tools installed, you go to Service Account Management, Service Accounts. You specify which servers in your domain you want to get service accounts for, and you get service accounts. This is an agentless solution. You simply put in the credentials that have access to those servers, and it will go and pull back all the service accounts from all those servers. Here they are. Some of these are built-in accounts, so you want to filter those out. And now you have a listing of all the service accounts for that machine. You can export this list for documentation. You also want to take the list, go back to AD Audit Plus, go to Configuration, and set up a report for when service accounts change. This will be a new report, and the new report will be for a user modification if anything with that account changes, and then you simply add in your service accounts. It's that simple. Then, once the report is set up, you can come down here and you can go and look at when any of your service accounts are modified and get reports on this. Okay? You can also set up alerts. So watch what happens when I go in and I make a change to a service account. If I do anything with a service account, that change is immediately posted. You see it right here? This is real-time alerting. You no longer have to worry about changes that occur in Active Directory that you can't see. The alerts show them to you immediately. And if you want to set up an alert that emails you, it's this simple. It's this simple. You have the power with AD Audit Plus to look at extremely granular details through emails to you when those objects change. I have never seen anything like this before, but every admin wants it. And the tool is so simple, so easy. I really encourage you to go look at this tool. If you download the tool, configure it, that takes less than 15 minutes to get all of this power. When you download our tool, we give you a 30-day free trial. Why not leverage the information that's in your security log so that you can get simple and easy reports like this, and every single one of our reports has the ability to export it to any format that you feel that you need to analyze the information. We also have compliance reports. Those of you having to deal with SOX and HIPAA and PCI, we have simple and easy reports. Click and the reports are generated. You can save them out. You can automate this. All this is possible. This is the tool that you need in order for change monitoring of Active Directory. We give you over 125 default reports. Everything from logons, user, group policy changes, you name it, it's in there. Plus, you can customize any report. We've been customizing reports for customers for years. The customization of these reports is extremely easy, and we want it to be that way so you can get the solutions that you need. And if you need to have an alert, we give the ability to alert on any report. So if anything happens in that report, you don't have to go look at the report. The report's going to tell you there's been a change through an alert. So in the end, what we have accomplished is something beyond what we thought was kind of aggressive to begin with, because now we're getting alerts. I am emailing you when critical changes in Active Directory occur. We're leveraging the security log by setting up auditing, but we're not using the pathetic Microsoft tools. We're using a tool designed to actually do this. So AD Audit Plus is the tool that you can actually monitor, report, and set up an alerts for any critical change that's occurring in Active Directory. So where do we go from here? Well, my recommendation is for you to go and download from our website AD Audit Plus. Secondly, I'm going to give you again my email, and I'm also going to give you another email. Email either one of us. The reason you're going to email us is we're going to give you a document. That document is going to be how you set up auditing. If you have any questions, please email us with questions. We love questions. It doesn't have to be about AD Audit Plus. It can be about Active Directory. It can be about security. Really, we want to help. This is why we're here. As an MVP in Active Directory, my job is to evangelize and help Active Directory administrators. So please come to us. If you want to set up a demo, we can set up a demo that we can go through the details of AD Audit Plus, how to set it up. This is a tool that every organization, whether you have one admin or whether you have 50 admins, whether you have 2 domain controllers or whether you have 100 domain controllers, it is impossible to see when things are changing. How do you know when the password policy changes for your organization? I have it right here in the report. I can have an alert sent out to me. I can look at the details of everything that's changed within this. This is how you do it. This is the important part. You need a tool that can show you what's happening within Active Directory, and this is that tool. Now, again, we encourage questions, and we were running low on time. So if you do have any particular questions that you want to throw out there, I think I have time for a couple of questions. If you go to your sidebar and you want to ask some questions, please go ahead and post those questions out there. And I can take a couple of minutes here to answer some questions at the end. If you have some questions that you kind of feel that you want to ask directly to us without everyone else seeing, please email myself, email Harry, and we'd be more than happy to address those for you. I appreciate everyone taking their time, and I really try to give resources. We at Manage Engine, the AD Solutions team, we've created the blog, we've created the mini site to really help you get easy answers for your questions. Well, I don't see that there's any questions coming through, and I know that we're running short on time, so I'm going to go ahead and thank everyone for your time, for attending this webinar. I know that your time is valuable, and we really appreciate you taking the time to go to give us your time. Oh, there is a question that just came in. There was a question on the maintenance of the size of the log. Now, it depends on which log you're talking about. Now, if you're talking about the log, the security log itself, my recommendation, because we are actually pulling the information out of the security log, I wouldn't want to make this log as small as possible. There's no reason for your domain controller to keep a huge file of these logs because we're doing that in our database. As far as the database that's here inside of AD Audit, we give the ability through the administration to actually archive the events, and you control the log size here. So we give you both abilities to control the log on your domain controllers and the database of the information. So we're actually pulling the information from the security log into our database and then reporting on our database. We're not reporting on the security log itself. So that was a great question. Well, again, thank you so much for your time. I don't see any more questions, I'm here for you. Harry's here for you. Vivian is here for you. We're all here for you, and we want to thank you for your time. And until next time I see you or next time I talk to you, this has been Derek Melber. Thank you so much for attending, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks.